Good to see you. Yes. Last Monday night at 9:15 p.m. marked the moment I filled out an AMA in the first company that I joined 44 years ago. I've been married to that woman for 45 years. I wish it was 450 years. I'd be excited about 4,500 years. I wish I could have met her at 3 and married her when I was 6. I wanted to at least get through 3 when, you potty trained and have that stuff handled. I've been inserted into the agenda here to talk to you about a couple of things that are really, really, really exciting and important. You've been hearing about them, you hear hints about them. Some of this we've waited for 2 decades to have come true. In a 44-year career, the 2 things I'm about to talk about were never true for us until we got this new administration in our company. I'm so grateful for Will Fuller. I am so grateful for Todd Buchanan. I'm so grateful for Michael Brodeur. These are the best we've ever had in these roles. The attitude is right. They finally moved to Aegon, and Aegon's roots go back 180 years in the Netherlands. And they finally moved out of the Netherlands to Bermuda in October of 23, and that was a complete game changer. When you hear Will Fuller talked about the amount of money is necessary to meet all obligations, right? That standard is at 100%, and we're at 400%. That's expressly because of the move out of the Netherlands to Bermuda and out of the European Economic Area, which created a whole new different reality. Now, I'm not going to keep talking about this or wear your butt out with it, but you need to know the game has changed in such dramatic ways. Some of what you've been feeling in the arena these last couple of days is because of this change. And I want you to leave here today knowing that this is the place in our industry to plant your flag. So, let's talk about ownership. Ownership is one of my favorite subjects. The first thing, that no matter what other kind of ownership there is, you've got to embrace. I talk about this at every retreat, most of my Zoom calls, and that's you've got to decide to own your own life. You've heard leader after leader after leader after leader come up here. We've got more coming after me and more this afternoon. But the bottom line is they made a decision that they were going to step out. It's scary, not as scary as being mediocre your whole life, but it's scary. And they stepped up and said, I'm going to own my future. That means own their time, drive their own income, put themselves where they're the boss in their world. They're behind the wheel, not sitting in the back driving wherever the company they work for takes them or doesn't take them. We're in a magnificent position here. A lot of us do not have the background in business or the experience, just like Cindy and I did when we started, to appreciate what's happening here. We celebrated with Daniel and Linda Fombo and over 3,000 of their teammates last Wednesday. They cracked 100 million points. That means the cash flow of that team that previous 12 months was $100 million. How much of that money did Daniel have to raise? How many banks did he have to go to raise a line of credit, to pay those advances? Because most of those policies, they got to go 12 months or longer before they pass that chargeback. That chargeback window. Did he have to worry about that? He didn't. He just had to worry about building his business, and that's enough. But you and I get a chance to have that second form of ownership. Besides owning our own life, owning our time, we get a chance to have a code number. You know, when you first get a code number, you've all gotten a code number, I'm assuming. You got it, you look at it, you start memorizing it. You don't know what it means. You realize it's an identity, just like a social security number or any other number that's assigned to you. You go to a store and pick number 24, that's where you are in a line. But that code number has an unbelievable potential. That code number is your business, and you start building it. And it starts generating value. Starts on your own personal production. You recruit a few people, you license a few people, you recruit a few more, you license a few more. The cash flow begins to grow. You hear these people up here and you hear their incomes when they're announced, but I want you to know, and by the way, I know a lot of people use the term passive income. I don't like the word. I understand what it means. Our own investments, and that money is being generated. In the business, I don't think we can be passive. We don't have the option of being passive as leaders. I turned 72 July 8th. I am pumped up. I feel better about our company right now than I have at any point in my career. I would not stand before you and say that if it wasn't true. Because I don't lie. And I'm not going to lie to you. At no point have I done so, and I'm sure not starting this morning. So let's look at something. You build a code. It begins to gain value. You understand? I did that. A bunch of us sitting up front here did that. But we didn't have a Heritage Premier program. There was no real clear outline thing. What if we got hit by a truck? What if we got sick? What were the options? We put heart and soul, so much of our own money into building our business, our offices, our events, all of these things. Now there's a program in place. It's the best I've ever seen. By this way, to say it's the best I've ever heard of in the industry isn't a high standard because almost nobody has it. We have little splinter groups start something and say, we got an ownership program. Ownership in what? In a company that's worth nothing, that's decades away from becoming even a fraction of what we are today. But you build that code, and with the Heritage Premier program, you have the right to sell it. Well, the company, not the company, but we'll have independent appraisers help you figure out what it's worth. If you sell it, you're crazy, but sometimes that's the option. I got a better option. Pass it to the next generation. When Daniel Falbo and I were talking about this, and we're talking about our company that we love, World Financial Group, and he said, I'm going to be in business with my children. I'm going to be in business with my grandchildren. He says, I need to be with a company that's going to be here 100 years from now. And you're in it. These other things come and go. They move here, they move there. The one person who owns it sells it, and it morphs into something very different that doesn't benefit you. I know I've experienced that a couple times. But that's not what you're going to experience here. You have a different and better future than those of us who built this company had when we started it, or 10 years into it, or 20 years into it. I'm so proud of that, I don't even know how to clearly articulate it to you. But the reality is, you can sell it, you'll be able to pass it on to the next generation. Do you know how sweet that is? If you had a farm, it's worth something, you try to pass it on to the next generation. When someone passes, that's in their estate. Half of that gets taken in estate tax. You gotta sell off stuff. It's a mess. Now, we put a new person in the code number. You think Swan Wynn's excited for Alicia and the family, knowing that that business, which is doing 630 million points right now, generating tens of millions of dollars for that family, that has a chance to go seamlessly into the next generation. Woo! Woo! What is it you're supposed to say? What was your line? Your what? You don't remember? Oh, just go with I'm pumped up. Say it. Say it. Say it. Well, you should be. A lot of you saying the words you don't even know. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I feel like I should be excited. I'm trying to understand it. Well, keep trying. Keep trying. I remember those days. And so we have a premier program that not only has a chance to go multi-generationally, but what if something sudden happens? Right? We've been hearing stories. Sudden illness, an accident. Well, now a qualified member of your family, they can't be 6 years old. You understand this, right? That's what the sales portion's for. And another thing about selling it, what if there's no buyers per se? Or nobody wants to meet what it appraises for? The company steps in at that point with their resources and guarantees that future. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. I've never had that in 44 years, but we got it now. We got it now. And so in that scenario, somebody's licensed and they're adult, it can go to a spouse, it can go to an adult child, qualified in good standing. They can't be in prison for embezzling money, stuff like that, right? They gotta be for real. And then it continues on in the family. And they then have time to figure out what they want to do with the business with the help of uplines and teammates. This is a cool thing. A very cool thing. Now the second area. I'm here to announce to the general session, we've talked about it in the leadership session, the WFG stock plan. This is a stock plan and Aegon stock. We have splinter groups that say, you'll have ownership in this. Our valuation is minus $20 million. I don't want ownership in that. I want ownership in something that's worth, having a chance to participate in something that's worth billions now and has an upside to grow billions and I believe tens of billions of dollars more in value in market capitalization. Our next 5, 10, and 15 years are going to be ridiculous. When is the launch date for the stock plan? 18 days ago. Now, we started something a few years ago. Some of us remember this. Some people here in the front row. It's called Associate Owners Group. We were starting to put together. It's called a reinsurance company with the field. And it was all, the only people that started in the beginning were making above $3 million or more. That's all that had access to it. We hope maybe we could get it down to $1 million earners, maybe even to $750,000 earners. You know where this one is starting? You ready? SMD. Not an income requirement. SMD.
Oh my
There are 3 categories. I even wrote them down so I get it right. We look like the first wave will have about 170 people participating. When we were doing the other one, we were going to have about 25, right? And they were already winning. You got to be in good standing, no compliance problems. You got to have decent net point ratio, right? But we're doing the top 60% of the stock allotment. First group, first guarantee, like the amount they know is like 3.5 million. That's not much yet, but it started. We had to get it started. Look, even I didn't understand how ridiculous it is to get one of these things in place. You know, the IRS has to weigh in on it. The Securities Exchange Commission has to weigh in on it. The Labor Department has to weigh in on it. And toughest of all, the daggone Dutch, who are so, can I say this in a public setting? So frugal, right? If you don't know what frugal is, look it up. It says cheap. And so this frugal group of board of directors, right, here we are, a bunch of American, Canadian entrepreneurs going, hey, we want stock, and we want you to give us stock in your Dutch company. Only you ain't a Dutch company anymore. They would have said no, right? But now we're in Bermuda, and the answer is yes. And so, we got it going on. We have started a process that will pass, in my opinion, so much wealth to the field, because the Aegon stock, I believe, has a tremendous upside. Been depressed for a while for a lot of reasons, but now with Fuller and Buchanan and Jamie O2 and people like I'm talking about it with Michael and Drew, I'm going to say your name. Drew McDonald. You feel the love? You want a hug? Are you okay? All right. With this group. Now, who else is participating? The top base shops, EMD and above, will compete. About 30% of the allotment will go to that group. And then the last group will be the top super bases. About 10% of the allotment will go to that group. So you become one of those top SMDs, and that's base shop production, or then we measure your base, because we want people who are in the game, not just overriding, not just comfortable, but are running base shops and competing. So EMD and up base shops, they'll be competing, right, for that 30%. Then we'll have super bases. There's no way sitting here you can appreciate enough what I've just told you. But I'm going to give you a little bit of an analogy. A number of years ago, when you used to have to call Microsoft to get help loading the new operating system for the year, I was sitting in my home office and I called Microsoft help. It was time to install this year's operating system. I got a guy on the phone. I'm online, obviously, and he helps me, and we start downloading this operating system. Back then, it used to take 30 to 40 minutes to download. And so while I'm on the phone with the guy, I want to be sociable. We're going to be hanging out for the next half hour plus. And I ask him about his family, and then I ask him a question. How long have you been with Microsoft? This is in the 90s. We know what happened to Microsoft. No, it would have been the early 2000s. And he says something to me that really got my attention. He goes, 2 years this time. And I heard the words, this time. And I promise you over the next 15, 20 minutes, he regretted that he said this time. I said, what do you mean this time? Because I was with Microsoft earlier. I said, how much earlier? He says, I don't really want to talk about this. I said, okay, I understand. I'm not trying to annoy you. I don't want you to screw up my computer. And I was quiet for maybe 2 minutes. I go, dude, I can't stop myself. Just the fact that you don't want to talk about it makes me want to talk about it. When was it? How long ago were you with Microsoft? You know what he said? I was in the first 100 employees.
Wow.
It's a company worth trillions today. One of the hottest stocks in the history of mankind. I said, you were in the first 100 and you left? I said, excuse me, what did you leave for? I got a job with another company that paid me $16,000 more a year. $16,000 more a year. I said, you were going to get stock. What happened to all your friends, all the other employees around you? What happened to them? Oh, these guys got a couple 100,000 shares. I said, what's it worth today for these people? For guys at your level, what you were doing, what are they worth today? He said somewhere between 50 and $100 million. Now I was speechless. And I go, man, I don't mean to grind this in, but what's it like? What's that feel like?
Oh, you did not say that to me.
I said, let me ask a question and paint a scenario. You're sitting at your dining room table with your family. You got your daughter on this side, you got your son on that side, your wife sitting at that end, and you're looking at him. And all of a sudden, does that thought ever come into your mind? You know what he said? It's kind of heartbreaking. He said, almost every day, I think about what I gave away just for a little temptation, just for $16,000. I cost my family a future of hundreds of millions of dollars. I missed the moment. You see, you get a chance to be at the right place at the right time. He was at the right place. He was at the right place at the right time, but he didn't realize it. He didn't know it. He didn't feel it. And he should have. Almost everybody else there did. You, me, all of us here, thousands back home, they're at the right place at the right time. We're going to be recruiting people tomorrow and the next day and the next day. They'll be at the right place at the right time. But you got to seize it. You got to jump on it. You got to make it yours. It's your time to